Hello, I am Fred Barrett, Emerging Media Manager with PBS Western Reserve, and I will be sharing aspects on how to build communities with digital storytelling. During the live stream presentation, I will be taking questions via a Google Doc between 3 o'clock and 3:20 p.m. To ask questions during the live stream, please scan the QR code with your cell phone or smartphone, or also visit the tiny URL shown below, which is case sensitive. The live question and answer session will not be available after the live stream. The overall perspective of the building communications with digital storytelling is really about reconnecting neighbors with digital platforms and information. Now, there are a lot of steps, a lot of comparisons to online entities on how they're created that can be applied to this movement and reconnecting people. One of my beliefs, one of my sayings is the value of a community is based on a story being told. And now it can be shown, it can be heard, or what have you, especially with all the digital platforms and tools we can use. But the value of the community is based on the story being told. One example is if you're looking for something this day and age, this modern era, and you go online and you can't find any information about a certain thing, there's an aspect of this thing may not exist, but it's an automatic aspect of this is of no value because I can't find anything on it. So communities today, in order to be rebuilt, reconnected, have to be the stories have to be told online to have their value increased. So throughout this presentation, I'm going to refer to the value of a community. It's based on the story being told. And the story being told in this modern era is done through digital storytelling. Now let's look at online communities. There's a lot of online communities that are created and formed by people from all over the world, statewide, nationwide, all over, but there are rare cases of online communities that are really created from physical communities, i.e. your neighbors. An online community is a community that forms on the internet. A community is a group of people interacting and sharing and working toward a common goal. They can have a common interest, they can have common values. Whereas in a physical neighborhood, neighbors, a neighborhood made of neighbors, may converse in their yards, in the online community, or other members may interact via social media networks. But there are many cases where a neighbor may not know another neighbor because this neighbor may, say, in their home, interact in online communities where no one in their neighborhood is in the same online community. How many times have you maybe met someone that's online and this person is two houses down from you? If you had that experience, it would totally shock you because your mindset and your world, if you are in one of these online communities, is really outside the scope of where you live. You might not even know your neighbors, you might not have any information from them. You just are just living there in the neighborhood with no connectivity. Now, there are several steps in building up an offline community, which are similar to an online community. The steps in building up a physical or offline community are the same in building an online community. Steps in building up an offline community include being welcome to the neighborhood, keeping in touch with people, saying hey to somebody, just see how they're doing every day. If you're out and about with them, helping each other, sharing, embracing neighborhood values. Those are some of the steps in building an actual community. In today's era, the modern era, physical communities have become disconnected in many ways. Online tactics can be used to bring up the physical community. There are a few general steps in building an online community that's going to be very similar to what's needed in a physical community. Let's take a look at a few of the steps. Identifying stakeholders. You might have some community activists, some people who've been living in the community for a long period of time, who knows everybody, who has grown there, who worked in the surrounding area. They love this community, the name of it, how it's founded, or what have you. And now they want to take a stake in it, ownership of it, and helping increase the value. So you have to identify these people. Now, building communication by establishing common interests and values through storytelling. So, if you have a lot of people in a neighborhood, well, one of my sayings is what makes a neighborhood a community? Communication. So, you have to build that communication with these people to learn their individual story, to find a common interest, get to know your neighbor. You get to know your neighbor, you get to know the individual. Now you get to develop your neighborhood into a community. Bonding by community, and bonding is created by building individual trust and creating a community voice. Listen to everybody, sharing their opinions, they're bonding the communication. These are all components of a community voice. Once you get the voice established, now you can come together. You can start creating community activities. Coming together, still communicating. Now you have the aspect of encouragement or encourage engagement through affirmation. Now you have to make the people feel valued and feel good in general to even come around and participate in the activities. Again, the value of a community is based on a story being told. When people feel valuable, they feel better, they feel good to be a part of this community, and now they're encouraged to engage. And once you encourage the engagement, as you get people together to gather together, now you have established a community member. Now you are bonded together. Now you can start collecting information. How can we stay in contact outside of the activities? How can we stay in contact or check up on each other? How do we know if somebody needs help? Well, we have to gather the information to stay in communication with them. Once you gather the information, now you can start promoting and keeping the people informed, i.e. promoting and informing the community. People who are consistently informed, that's the basis of communication. If the communication is good, now you have promotion in it. Now, the people or the steps of all these steps are taken from promoting, gathering, encouraging, communication, learning stories, common interests. The entity that creates that has now become a resource of bringing all these steps together. So again, identifying stakeholders, building communication by establishing common interests, values through storytelling, bonding with individuals, hearing their voice, creating activities. Now, once you create them, you can encourage people to come out and make them feel good. Once they come out, you can gather the information because trust is set. You know, today in today's era, giving out information is a very private thing. But once you have a common bond, interest, and trust, now you can gather the information. Once you gather the information, you can provide it, and now you can promote it. So if you have the information to promote, you're doing that for the community, and that who takes those efforts to do these steps have now become a resource. Now, identifying stakeholders. Being connected and united with others of common interests and values is the foundation of a community. Now, a stakeholder has to get out and connect with individuals to learn their interests and to learn their values. Once you do that, now you can get people to connect and create this common aspect, this common interest, this common value. These efforts require creating constructive community engagement and purposeful communication. Hence the word constructive. Hence the word purposeful. You can communicate all day. It can be positive, it can be negative, or it could just be talk. You have to have purpose. What's the purpose? Building up the communities. And you have to be constructive, positive. Storytelling is the foundation of how any community is viewed. From community to community, you will say, hey, you may not want to go to this community because I heard this. Or you may go online and find something negative about that community. Every community has a story to tell. Now, there's one thing you have to remember. If you don't tell your story, someone else will tell it for you. If you don't want external entities telling a story for you. If you want to build your community up, you have to tell the stories about your community that's affirmative and positive. Again, storytelling is the foundation of how any community is viewed. Now, you can give your community meaning and movement by telling your story. Mean, hence value, movement, feeling. You get each individual feeling good and value within your community. Their posture, their perspective will be the story. They will be proud of their community. The community will be valuable to them. That's the first step in gathering or creating this movement to tell a story, i.e. giving your community meaning and movement. The stakeholders are those that are dedicated in collecting these stories and information. These individuals focus on creative and genuine ways to create a community voice. Now, the dedication is primarily into knowing each person in a community. The collective voice, i.e. collecting of these stories. Each individual has a story. Once each individual, or you learn their individual stories, now you got to take these individual stories and combine them into one community voice. If your community has a story, that story is comprised of each individual story. Just like a book is made of different chapters. Your community is made up of the stories of each individual. Digitally, building trust with community voice. The media landscape has changed. From reduced staffing to economic struggles, media companies are limited in providing coverage. Communities must become their dedicated media advocates in creating their community voice. So you have to have a purpose, a heartfelt passion to develop a media to increase the value of the community. Now, the premise of creating your own media will help you gather your own media and share that with the media companies who are limited in their own efforts in collecting them themselves through reduced staffing and other issues. So if you tell your own story and you share that with the major media companies from your local news stations or your own newspaper, it will assist them in getting your stories out. Again, the value of the community is based on a story being told. The community voice is a purposeful collaboration of the stories needing to be told. Let's say if your community has a negative perception or a negative story on it, or they don't have a story at all. The need is to either retell a story or create one. The community voice is also the fostering of every individual's voice to be heard and respected. Again, might be repetition, but every individual's voice is a chapter of the story of the community that needs to be heard and respected. Respected, my definition is to look again. Once you see individual, you might judge the individual by how you first see him, but now you need to take another look. Let me get to know this person. Let me get to know their perspective of who they are in the community they live in. Even learning somebody else's story. One person may have a different story about the community, and the person across the street might have a different story. And it might be totally opposite, polar opposites. Well, sometimes if you don't really communicate, people can create or make up stories that are not really true or factual based on the community. This is important. This is the importance of determining the community voice and getting to know every individual. The community voice helps the community stay connected. Staying connected keeps everybody in the same story, the same digital story. Now, staying connected through facilitating conversations on social media, forums, blogs, newsletters, and other platforms. This is the digital approach to creating a digital voice. Again, in today's modern age, if you can't find any information or any stories about a certain community, ask yourself, does that community exist? If it doesn't exist, you might hear other stories that other people have said that are not a part of that community. And you create your own story. Those who don't have a story will be told for them, especially in today's modern era. Digital platforms, places where digital information can be applied, be presented, be placed, produced. The basic general overview of these platforms are from a dedicated website to social media, to audio and video podcast channel, social media presence, or e-newsletters. What I mean by dedicated website. The website in general is for you to control your narrative. People can write articles and write posts about a certain place on many platforms, from Facebook to Reddit to any other platforms to a Google review, anything. But if you want to control your narrative and want the true story to be told, hence you need a dedicated website. Now you have audio and video podcasts. Now for some of those advocates, you might have someone who is more affluent to presenting things in audible fashion, or somebody on video. Video is a powerful element, but so is audio. Both of those components can be created. Now, with articles written on the website, audio, podcast, video, they can all be placed or pushed through a social media presence. Depending on how your community accesses this information, some people might just say, I'm good with a website. Some people might say, well, I'm good with a podcast, video podcast. Some of your people in the community might be on social media. So now you're attacking all three. An e-newsletter provides a summary or outlet to gather all these information or to point you to where this information is at. In this digital day and age, you need to put all your pertinent information on a dedicated platforms that you control. You control the narrative. Again, the value of a community is based on a story being told. You have to control that story. Now, some of the platforms, these are platforms that come to my mind first, but there are many other tools. For example, for me, WordPress is where you can create your dedicated website. Now, Medium is a good platform. It's not website based, but it's where you can create articles. But you have your own channel. So this is for text, and you can put other mediums in there, digital, audio, video, whatever, but it's primarily for text. Audacity, audio production, editing. If you're doing audio podcast, then you have Podbean. Now you can use other sites like Anchor or what have you. Anchor is like a YouTube for audio, or Podbean, same thing. So it's up to you. You might have other platforms, but these are the ones that come to the top of my mind. Video editing, you have DaVinci Resolve, a higher tier editing platform. Now there are lower tier video platforms you can access. If you can make it work, make it work. I'm just using these different platforms off the top of my mind. WordPress, Audacity, and DaVinci, you can all start off for free. Now again, DaVinci is video editing, and one platform you can place video is YouTube. So you got WordPress, Medium, websites. Audacity, Podbean, audio, DaVinci, YouTube, video. Now Canva, there are many other free graphic software packages or software you can use online for free. Canva, which is listed as an infographic software, online software, is one of many. Canva is one of the easiest ones that I refer to in regards to designing graphics to go along with the video and the audio and the website articles. For e-newsletters, once you gather information from all your community members, you can set up an account with Constant Contact to provide them a daily, or weekly, or monthly summary of what's going on in the neighborhood. And a Constant Contact in the e-newsletter can contain your graphics, your video, your audio, and your articles, your text articles. These are digital platforms with purpose. Now, I want to thank you for watching this presentation on building up communities through digital storytelling. Now, again, the value of the community is based on the story being told. My name is Fred Barrett. I'm the Emerging Media Manager with PBS Western Reserve. Along with the Ohio EdTech agencies, we are happy to support you on Digital Learning Day 2021. My session was based on how digital stories can help reconnect our neighbors and communities. Thank you for watching.